This week, Siskel and Ebert review Denzel Washington enchanted by The Devil in a Blue Dress. Whoopi Goldberg and Kathleen Turner dream of Moonlight and Valentino. And Nicole Kidman wants to ditch husband Matt Dillon for TV fame in To Die For.
With the baby has 2 strikes against her. I say I'm in New York, right? And I'm
New York?
Oh, for instance, and I'm suddenly called to go on some foreign assignment, like a royal wedding or a revolution in South America. You can't run from place to place with your crew following and conduct serious interviews with a big fat stomach.
Nicole Kidman plays a single-minded woman with big dreams, dreams big enough to die for, in one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. We'll also look at Whoopi Goldberg and Kathleen Turner in a bittersweet comedy, and Denzel Washington as Private Eye Easy Rawlins. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is To Die For, and it's a flat-out winner with a great Oscar-caliber comic performance by Nicole Kidman. Credit independent director Gus Van Sant and writer Buck Henry for creating simply one of the year's best films. You're going to love seeing this picture. To Die For is the story of a pretty young woman named Suzanne Stone who desperately wants to be on TV. Barbara Walters, Connie Chung are her heroes. For starters, though, she'll work on a local cable TV station as anything. Her boss remembers her relentless pitches.
Here's a memo on that children's show I mentioned with me as the hostess and the live in-studio animals. If you could just look it over tonight, give me your thoughts in the morning. Just a couple of pages outlining that concept for interviewing everyday citizens like mailmen, school crossing guards, to better inform our citizenry on what kind of valuable services are available to them.
When she finally gets on the air, she's almost over the top. But who has the heart to tell her?
Good evening from the WWEN Weather Center.
Weather Center?
The heavy system we're expecting, moving down from the north, is not going to show up after all. Because the high-pressure system is going to be moving up to the north.
Suzanne has been married for less than a year to a simple, nice guy played by Matt Dillon, but she has begun to find fault with him.
You want one of these?
No, thanks.
No? What about one of these? You're going in full.
No, thanks.
Sure is great with those kids.
Angela, he's got to stop eating all that junk. He's getting a rubber tie around him like some old man.
Ever conniving, Suzanne befriends a local schoolboy and begins to plot to have him do away with her husband. He's played by Joaquin Phoenix.
I can't go home every night and have him trying to touch me. And all the time I'm just thinking about you.
Nicole Kidman is a revelation with this performance. Who knew she could be such a great comic actress? Her Suzanne is truly scary, much like Holly Hunter's killer Texas cheerleader mom on cable 2 years ago. Buck Henry's script is pop culture smart, and Gus Van Sant is the kind of director who simply can't make anything less than one terrific visual after another, with colors so bright they're scary, as scary as Suzanne. To Die For is a genuine treat.
Well, Gus Van Sant wasn't quite that good a year ago when he made Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. That movie was a complete disaster. It really worried me. What happened to him? Now you're right, he is back with a vengeance. This movie is so evil and so mean and so satirical and another whole element that you didn't quite get to is the way she seduces these kids and the performances of the 3 young teenagers who are right out of the newspapers. You're always hearing about some older person trying to convince some teenager to bop off their spouse or something, and the detail that goes into these kids, they're not just handled in a superficial way, is really interesting.
The control that he has over this film is constant. Now, you really see how material that could be handled light, could be handled just as a laugh, is being taken over by a full director. You're in his hands completely. This is movie making at its best.
And you're just mesmerized by the power of her ego. She just wants to be on television.
And did you expect this performance from her?
Well, she's been good.
She's a good, but not in a comic role like this.
It shows another aspect.
Just
it
terrific.
Does.
Big talent.
Okay, next movie. Our next movie is Steal Big, Steal Little, and this is a movie with a big heart but very little common sense. In other words, it's easy to like a lot of the pieces of this film and still walk out of the theater wondering, what was that all about? The movie stars Andy Garcia in a double role as twin brothers who were adopted by a rich California woman and are now engaged in a bitter battle over her estate and her giant ranch near Santa Barbara. Trick photography is common in movies where one actor plays two characters, but how did they get all of these mirrors to work? Well, I guess they did it with computers, but it's really well done.
First you took my wife, then you took my job. We've been over this. I told you nothing happened. Under the circumstances, Bonnie wasn't all there. Oh, she wasn't all there? Well, according to her, she was all there for you.
The movie has a warm love affair between the good brother and his estranged wife who finds herself back in his arms. She's played by Rachel Tickerton. The movie co-stars Alan Arkin as a Chicago car dealer on the run from the mob who ends up as Garcia's advisor.
Can't trust a friend. Who can you trust? A neutral party. Me.
I'll bail you out, but you gotta make me a partner.
You want to be...
It's a good performance by Arkin, who eventually talks both a mafia hitman and a crooked lawyer over to his side.
Contract's over.
Contract?
Nobody touches Eddie.
Listen, I'm not playing no games.
The contract's off. He's worth more to us alive.
And, of course, eventually, inevitably, one twin impersonates the other one.
Hello, little brother. Not even a hello.
I'd like to summarize the plot of Steal Big, Steal Little, but this is only a half-an-hour program, and not only is the plot complicated, but the telling of it is confusing, with all sorts of flashbacks and testimony and recollections and eyewitness accounts all circling around a complex legal hassle. You feel like you got involved in a conversation with some distant cousins who want to explain all about some long lawsuit that you just don't care about. The story is basically just too ungainly for us to get involved, I'm afraid, and that's surprising because the director, Andrew Davis, is a master of narrative whose last film was The Fugitive. This time he has a lot of nice things in his movie, but to no avail.
I looked at my watch at the 1 hour mark, feeling I had had enough of this picture. I had an hour and about 15 minutes to go. It was torture sitting through the end of this picture because the story just keeps duplicating itself with the trickery. I mean, it's the same screenplay told at an hour twice almost.
The way to handle this movie would have been for somebody to sit down and tell the writer the story, and then for the guy to write up the story from A to Z and then make the movie without all of this circling.
A big disappointment considering the talent.
Oh, yeah. Coming up, Denzel Washington and Jennifer Beals star in a detective mystery set in Los Angeles just after World War II. Devil in a Blue Dress is next.
It's not. Yeah, well, you can tell it to the police, because I ain't taking it.
The real reason I called you is because I'd like you to drive me to Todd's house.
Why didn't you call Todd Carter? Have him send for you.
Well, I have to go someplace else on the way. Someplace that I don't want Todd to know about.
A fired factory worker, Denzel Washington, finds himself in over his head as he tries to locate a young woman, Jennifer Beals, who is in big trouble in Devil in a Blue Dress, the newest film from One False Move director Carl Franklin. Devil in a Blue Dress has the outer form of a detective story set in 1948 Los Angeles, but the true mystery is whether Denzel Washington's character, named Easy Rawlins, can grow up and survive and even thrive as a black man in a white world. As the film opens, he's hired to track down the missing girlfriend of a local politician. Tom Sizemore plays the mysterious stranger.
Fiancée of Todd Carter. She's been gone 2 weeks. It upset the poor man so much he stopped running for mayor.
I never laid eyes on him.
That's a shame. See, Daphne has a predilection for the company of Negroes.
Helping Easy locate the girl is his crazy, violent friend named Mouse, played memorably by Don Cheadle of TV's Picket Fences.
Now we got to go find that girl so we can get that money, huh?
Hell no, we don't have to go find nobody. I done changed my mind. I don't need your kind of help, Mouse.
Boy, look at you. Man, cut a damn smile in your neck. You gonna tell me you don't need my kind of help?
See, this the same shit you pulled 5 years ago when you killed old man Nevershed and them. You ain't even been in my house 5 minutes and you done shot somebody already, Mouse.
Eventually, he does meet the girl, played by Jennifer Beals of Flashdance fame.
I don't know if I should think of you as a friend of Coretta's or as a private dick.
But their relationship is clouded when Easy is wrongly accused of murder. He needs to see the girl again to try to clear his name, but she's more interested in some photos Easy has.
All right, then I'll pay you for them. I'll give you $1,000.
You gave Richard McGee 7.
Then I'll give you 7.
Damn, what does Terrell have on you, girl?
Nothing. You want the money or not?
No.
The story of Devil in a Blue Dress is probably the least interesting element of the film, and Jennifer Beals isn't very commanding as a love object or as a femme fatale. But Denzel Washington is as watchable as any actor today, and it's worth spending time with his Easy Rawlins character as he tries to figure out who's who in this story and how he, Easy, can someday be at peace. On the basis of his performance, his character, I liked Devil in a Blue Dress.
I liked it too, and not only for Denzel Washington's performance. I think you're not quite reading the Jennifer Beals character just right. She's not necessarily a love object. She's a mystery object. She's a person who was in the plot for reasons that none of the men really understand, and it's kind of, in this way, like Chinatown, where secrets from the past influence political scandal in the present. I also like Carl Franklin's direction of this film.
Very much so.
He made it look very convincing as 1948 Los Angeles and the world that Easy lives in, where all he really wants to do is make the mortgage payment on his house. Is very, very well done.
I guess what I'm saying about Jennifer Beals is that as a figure there that would cause all the turmoil, she never convinced me that she could trigger all these things.
Think about the guy she caused the turmoil in to begin with, and you might help understand it.
When we come back, a young widow goes through a bumpy year in Moonlight and Valentino.
I am really looking forward to going back to work tomorrow. Well, I still think it's too soon.
Elizabeth Perkins suddenly becomes a widow in the opening scenes of Moonlight and Valentino, and the three most important women in her life help her to adjust to that, and one of them in that scene is her best friend, played by Whoopi Goldberg. Another one is Perkins' troubled younger sister, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who has fallen in love for the first time and turns to her for urgent, womanly advice.
Is it better to moan or to act like you're stifling the moan, or just not to moan at all?
Well, just be natural. Don't act. Just be yourself.
Becky, we're not on a talk show, you know. You can tell me for real.
At a surprise birthday party, Perkins gets support from all the women, including her former stepmother, played by Kathleen Turner.
What is he doing here?
Well, he's here to paint your house, silly. I mean, that's my surprise. That's the big birthday present.
That's a big present.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the scenes are made up of dialogue like this, with the women discussing such eternal truths as the power of chicken soup.
In the early days with me and Paul, he could not resist me. He'd come in, I'd have the big bowl of steaming hot chicken soup waiting for him. He'd swoop us both upstairs to the bed. Me and the soup, I mean.
Unusual foreplay, Sylvie.
Does it happen?
I think it goes without saying that in a movie like this, another man sooner or later comes along and is usually a pretty good catch. In Moonlight and Valentino, it's a house painter played by rocker John Bon Jovi. He and Perkins have a deep heart-to-heart talk, and indeed this whole movie seems to consist mostly of deep heart-to-heart talks which go on forever while the plot is left on hold. This is just about the longest 105-minute movie I've ever seen. Endless and pointless and in desperate need of a plot injection. You were looking at your watch during the other movie. I couldn't believe that this movie was less than 2 hours long.
You know, Roger,
it was never going to
I want to challenge the actresses involved. These are some big talents. And as I looked at them, I said, you know what, Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't look like she would have these problems. These are the problems of a 15-year-old, not of that actress. Whoopi Goldberg, again, the moral center of the universe in a film. Isn't she tired of playing that? Here's a smart woman, a terrific talent, and she's playing down to some stereotypical image that she's got in her head of who she should preside over pictures. I mean, let's get real here. Elizabeth Perkins, I mean, she was probably the best of the sorry lot, but I'm very surprised that these actresses would use these.
What was the movie about? What was it about?
It's about sisterhood. It's about sisterhood.
I know. Sometimes you say that you'd rather see a movie where the actors are just talking to each other.
Of course.
That would be more interesting than the film. In this movie, I'm afraid it is a movie about the actresses just talking to each other.
But they'd be talking over real problems.
It's like a bunch of script conferences.
This is sisterhood as written, you know, with cute scenes where people talk about the things girls talk at lunch. I think women at lunch actually talk about smarter stuff than this.
I sure hope so. Coming up next, a ragtag group of grammar school kids unite to form a winning soccer team in the Big Green.
We're nothings from nowhere.
We're not the nothings from nowhere. We're the Alma Nothings.
Our next film is The Big Green. It stars Olivia Dabo as a substitute teacher of any kid's dreams, but particularly those of the kids in her class in the small, dead-as-a-doornail town of Alma, Texas. Her idea of how to enliven the kids? they should join forces and form a soccer team. Steve Gutenberg plays the local sheriff.
While you're here, who's giving speeding tickets and picking up dead animals off the highways?
I love the children. First rule, no questions about anything. Go ahead, Anna.
Come on, you don't fool us. You don't know jack about soccer.
Now, I may not know all the rules, but I do know a thing or two about kicking a ball. You check this out, Miss Attitude.
Whoa! Wow, kick.
Good shot.
A new kid in class turns out to be a heck of a player. Are you getting the formula yet?
Whoa, we don't look like that when we got the ball.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You think he's done this before? I think he's done this a lot before.
The Big Green is about as formulaic a sports movie as you can get, leading up to a big game ending. The team to beat is coached by J.O. Sanders.
They got little kids and girls on the team. This is not soccer. Gentlemen, this is not soccer.
Oh, we've all seen this movie before, many times before, this year, in fact. It's the Mighty Ducks played on a grassy field. The kids are a bunch of stereotypes, the fat goalie, the Latino who has immigration problems in his family, and an assortment of girl players. I can't recommend The Big Green. There wasn't a fresh moment in it. Not one, except for number 12, the little blonde girl with the ponytail. She had some really good moves, and you know I was really in desperate straits to be searching the screen for long shots of one good little soccer player.
I can find another bright moment in the movie, and that was Olivia Dabo. I thought she was charming, but completely wasted in a useless movie. In fact, as this movie started, and I saw the formula, I said to myself, the team that they have to beat, they'll lose to them first, then they'll beat them in the final, and I predicted this team will be dressed all in black, and they will have a sadistic, obsessed coach. And just like in the Mighty Ducks, what do you know? It was absolutely true. Now we're going to have to look around for another sport. Maybe lacrosse.
Archery.
A lacrosse team. How about that? Archery.
Yeah.
Chess. Why not?
Chess would be interesting. When we come back, a look at a film preservation festival on cable TV and some of the films they've preserved.
The Century Plaza, offering the finest in luxury service and Southern California style, adjacent to Beverly Hills on LA's fashionable West Side. The Century Plaza Hotel and Tower, a Westin hotel.
If you love the movies, you naturally hope they're going to stay around for a while, but until fairly recent years, very little was done to preserve the fragile prints of early films. To do something about that, director Martin Scorsese started the Film Foundation, dedicated to restoring classic films. And starting this Monday, American Movie Classics on Cable is holding its third annual Film Preservation Festival to celebrate some of the films that Scorsese and his group have preserved. This year, the theme is comedy. One of the highlights is this beautifully restored print of Buster Keaton's 1924 film, Sherlock Jr. This is the film with its blurring of the line between the movie and the audience, which inspired Woody Allen's Purple Rose of Cairo, which is also being shown in the AMC Festival. Listen here to a brand new score composed and played by Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks. Also scheduled on AMC next week, seldom seen short subjects now lovingly restored, including this film by comedy master Harold Lloyd. Last year, the annual AMC Film Preservation Festival raised $500,000 to preserve great films like these, and this year's festival starts Monday and runs a week, and it's your chance to relive some terrific moments in movie history. It's our video pick of the week. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 big thumbs up for Gus Van Sant's quirky satirical To Die For, with Nicole Kidman right on target playing a cable weather girl whose ego is big but whose brain is minute. 2 thumbs down for Steal Big, Steal Little, which had some nice performances by Andy Garcia, Alan Arkin, and Rachel Ticotin, but was so confused they all got lost in the traffic. 2 thumbs up for Carl Franklin's atmospheric Devil in a Blue Dress, with Denzel Washington as a Los Angeles man who finds himself in the middle of a Chinatown-style mystery. 2 thumbs down, though, for the endless and pointless, talkative and boring Moonlight and Valentino. And 2 more thumbs down for the Formula Kiddie sports movie, The Big Green, which applies to soccer more or less the same story that Mighty Ducks applied to hockey.
So To Die For is really the discovery of this week. This is, I think, just a terrific entertainment. I can't wait to see it a second time.
Okay, and Devil in a Blue Dress. Okay, that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Assassins, starring Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas as dueling killers.
Step outside, and I'll set you free.
And also How to Make an American Quilt, starring Winona Ryder as a young woman learning some life lessons from Anne Bancroft and Ellen Burstyn. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
The Game of Knowledge. The exciting and educational game for children and parents, too. The Game of Knowledge. New from University Games.
I can eat what I want because of Breath Assure, the internal breath freshener. Be sure, Breath Assure.
Nothing works like Breath Assure, the internal breath freshener.
Academy Award winner Angelica Houston and Melanie Griffith in the high-spirited, passionate tale of the end of an era, Buffalo Girls, now available on video from Cabin Fever.